Howdy, howdy. Happy Tuesday. Yep, happy Tuesday. Welcome back. It's Anthony. And I've got my fancy blue blocking glasses on today to save myself from the zoom and screen migraines. So I'll start with that. I'm incredibly grateful for technology and incredibly grateful for technology that blocks technology. Who's on today? Type in, say hello, and share with us, with me, what you're grateful for today. Who's joining and what are you grateful for? Sweet. Nothing yet, but we'll get going. Today's session, quick review, last week was about inquiry and diving inward, checking out where you're getting stuck with your stories and where you're finding fault with other people. And then at the same time, thanks, Catherine. At the same time, where you have found fault with other people, and then how to just see the truth in it for you, and where you have done the exact same thing that you're upset at somebody else for. So for me, the practice of inquiry has been a huge, huge way to help alleviate stress and pain in the moment. And the reference, or the work that I referenced, was Byron Katie, and her website is thework.com. I wanted to shift gears today a bit and talk about boundaries, talk about discipline, and how this concept is really at the heart of being able to be free. A lot of us shy away from the word discipline because of maybe what it meant when we were growing up, or some of the other negative connotations that come along with the word discipline. But when you look at the word discipline and how it relates to, or just the root of it and where it comes from, it comes from the word disciple. So to be a disciple of something. When you look at it from that sense, it takes on an incredibly different meaning than being disciplined. So think about for a moment what you're a disciple of in your life. What are you committed to? What are you absolutely in love with? What fuels you? What drives you? What are you willing to go to the fire for inside of your life? Type it into the chat function and share what you're a disciple of. And this is part one in understanding how discipline and boundaries actually create so much freedom and so much relief from suffering and from specifically like anxiety and stress. So what are you a disciple of? What are you absolutely in love with? What are you committed to? What are you married to? What are you devoted to is a really good word when it comes to this idea of discipleship. Next gen. What else? Take a few more seconds and get really present, get really close to that. And I want you to think about what you would do for that. So, in other words, I'm a disciple of my family. I am devoted to my family. I am willing to do whatever it takes in order to see them thrive and to be successful and to be happy. And when you look at this word discipline and or being a disciple of something from that perspective, it energetically changes the current from which you're running it. So instead of thinking of discipline as I'm in trouble or this is something I need to do, it becomes something I get to do. Yeah, Martha, that's exactly it. To being a loving, supportive mother, aunt to my daughter. Okay, we're getting it. So notice how when you frame whatever it is that you're devoted to in this way, being a disciple of that, it comes easier. There's more power awarded to you. You can flow more easily in that direction. So what does all of this have to do with the actual word discipline and boundaries? It has to do, number one, with the reframing of the conceptual thing. And then number two, it's using discipline and boundaries as an aid for your success, as an aid for helping you accomplish what you're looking to have more of in your life. So a really good and easy analogy to follow is financial freedom. So many people are looking for financial freedom, and they want to be able to have enough money to live in a way that they choose to, or to do whatever they want with their life. And in order to be financially free, you are required to be disciplined with how you spend your money and or how you save your money. It becomes the boundary, it becomes the wall that you don't go over. Another really good example is health. Especially right now, like so much of this is about immunity and health. So in order to be healthy, in order to be free of disease, in order to be able to use your body in a way that you want to chase your kids to Catherine, to do yoga with Sam, to do the things you want to, then the discipline part comes in with how you treat your body and what you do with it, what you put in it. So to be free from disease, then you need to be disciplined with how you eat and when you eat and the amount of alcohol you consume if you choose to. You start to look at all of these things and they become little non-negotiables, little boundaries that you don't cross over. When it comes to moving your body, to be able to chase your kids or your grandkids around, or just to live a long, mobile life, then you must be disciplined with your exercise regimen. So things like yoga, running, resistance training. There's so much science now that's pointing to a need for resistance training once you're past your 30s. And even more so in men, which is interesting to me, that the resistance training actually supports longevity and mobility. And then practices like yin, like the deep stretches, like the end of a power yoga class where you lay on the ground and you're out of breath, inward and half pigeon. Things that exercise and support your connective tissue, your ligaments, all of the stuff that lives in between your muscles, even your bones. There's some real good science from yin yoga that shows that those poses even support your bone health. So discipline in what you do with your body. So conceptually, this is what I wanted to share. If you're looking to enjoy a life that is free from stress, free from drama, free from health issues, then start to look at and do some inquiry on where you are not holding yourself accountable to boundaries that you've set. Where are you not adhering to a really solid nutritional program? Where are you not adhering to an exercise program? Because oftentimes the pains that we feel, the sufferings, the stress, the anxiety, whatever, like the way that it shows up is a symptom of a lack in discipline. if we look at relationships, who is, and again, do this work for yourself, who is giving you anxiety? Who is making you get a little bit nervous underneath the hood? And then look at that relationship and answer a couple of questions. Am I holding myself to the boundaries that I want to? In other words, like, am I allowing this person to walk all over me? Are they taking advantage of me? Am I not being honest and direct and speaking the truth in a situation? Am I dimming my light? These are all little, call them areas of opportunity for us to apply boundaries to, which are places that we just won't go against, right? And it's an opportunity for us to be disciplined and to hold ourselves accountable. At work, right? This is a big one right now. We're not working from home. We're at home living through a global crisis, pandemic, there's a lot of stuff happening, and then we're also trying to work. And this one's like really close to my heart. For me, for a bunch of weeks through this, there wasn't a separation. And the kids were here. I've got 3 little ones at home. My wife's here. We're trying to work and trying to teach and trying to be parents. And I would feel guilty about this, and then I would miss an assignment here. And it was just really muddy. And it was because I didn't have clear-cut boundaries on what my workspace was, what my work hours were, when things were due, when I was going to be a dad, when I was going to exercise, like layer in everything that we've talked about so far. And as soon as I started to pay attention to my pain points and create a boundary around each one of those, that's when I started to find more peace and more freedom inside of it. All right, we're talking about schedule right now, and this is a big, big deal. Your schedule, right, from the yogi perspective, there's a lot of my friends who are like, oh, I don't keep a schedule, I just go with the flow. And a lot of times that works. And what I found to be even more effective is to have your day so scheduled out that you never have to put a second thought into it. And you're free to be creative in the moment. You're free to lend yourself fully and wholly to what it is that you're doing. So again, it's just one-sided conversation on YouTube. If I know in my phone, I would show you, but we're on the phone. From 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. every day, I have scheduled dad time. And it's when the kids wake up. They wake up at 6:30, I hang out with them, we make breakfast, we do a thing, and I'm really focused on them. And then at 7:40, call it, there's a little bit of a buffer, 7:40 to 8:30 is when I shift into my admin time. Yep, exactly, time blocking. Shift into my admin time. So I'm clean and clear with my role as a parent, and then I use that next 30 minutes to look at my day, to relook at it, to schedule. But when I pull back, there isn't any free gaps inside of the day because it's all been intentionally scheduled. And that's very disciplined. So it all comes full circle. It's very, very disciplined to do that way, and it requires some effort on the front end. But what that has given me in return is a tremendous amount of freedom, because there's no more missing things. There's no more feeling guilty. There's no more blending of the two. When I'm off, I'm off. When I'm on, I'm on. When I'm a dad, I'm a dad. When I'm a husband, I'm a husband. And it's all complete. It's very much like, if we use the analogy of a yoga pose, the boundary for most yoga poses is the ground itself. Think of cobra or upward facing dog. If the ground wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to push the earth away and open the front line of our heart. If the ground wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to do a one-legged balancing pose. It's a non-negotiable that doesn't break. And in this case, it's out of our control, which makes it even easier because we just accept it. The harder part about what I'm sharing with you today is that we make it, and then we need to enforce it. So if we go all the way back to the top of this conversation, the way that I've been able to enforce these disciplines and boundaries is through connecting the action with where I'm a disciple of it. And this is hugely important, which is why we started here and why we're coming back. If there's no why behind my daily schedule and the time blocking, then it's easy for me to get off track. But it's because I'm devoted with my heart and soul and every fiber of my being to being a good father and to being the best version of myself that I can be in my role at CorePower, like devoted to it, then I stay disciplined with it. A friend of mine once said that there's two pains in life. There's the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. And if you had the choice, I guarantee each and every one of you on this stream right now, myself included, would choose the pain of discipline. It's rough sometimes. It's getting up early. It's doing the squats. It's taking the yoga sculpt class. It's eating your greens. It's whatever it is in service of what you're devoted to. And it's short term. Like it's small. It's little chunks. On the other end, and if you're with me here, I know you felt this too, because I have, and the human experience is the same. I'll catch that in a second about being a mom. I'm with you. The pain of regret is so much more heavy and hurts a lot more and lasts a lot longer than the pain of discipline in the moment. So we always have those two choices. Now, thank you, Inga. I wanted to address this. Being a mother, it's impossible to have a strict schedule. Yes. So in this case, it's not necessarily time blocking. It's intention setting, and it's looking for the essence of what you're trying to accomplish. What are the most important things? What is going to lead you to the most significance? It's almost as if you pull back and it's called, like, what are the 1, 2, or 3 most important things that you can accomplish today? So it's a different route. Thank you for typing that in. I have the luxury of Nicole being home. She goes back to work tomorrow. So I get to actually test this out tomorrow in a real life thing. Option 1, time block. I have support. Nicole's with the kids. Tomorrow she goes back to work. I have a 6-year-old, a 3.5-year-old, and a 3-month-old, and I'll be working. So my focus shifts then to what are the 1 to 2 to 3, depending on your day, depending on your life, most important actions that I can take today. What's going to move the needle today, and that's it. And then everything else will fall into place because we're watching kids, we're jumping around. So it's a little bit different, and for me, it's still effective. It's called like the big rock theory. There's lots of different time management pieces around it, but you choose your top 3 needle movers and you arrange around that. Good recommendation, Catherine. Thank you. So it shifts a little bit. But the through line is this, is what are you a disciple of? What are you devoted to? And it is probably, like inside of that is probably being a mom to your kids. So anything outside of that that doesn't move the needle of your life or where you're trying to go, it just falls to the wayside because it's not that important, right? So I can share, like, that would be the shadow side of time blocking. That's some of the shadow side, the things that don't work about it, is that a lot of us will put on things on our schedule that don't really matter, that aren't of significance. And at the end of the day, we were really, really busy and we didn't accomplish anything of great significance. So that could happen when we go down the time blocking route, which is why I'm like, what are you devoted to? See the big picture first, lead with the why, and then use your own individual life to build around that schedule. At the end of the day, if you stick to managing your time in a way that is aligned with what you're devoted to, and then making the self-promise to hold yourself accountable to the boundaries you set, that will make all the difference in the world. It is, in my experience, the path to freedom. And it shows up in every single one of the areas of our body: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. The only thing that we haven't really covered yet is, how do you hold yourself accountable? So other than the tools and tactics that we look for, like time management, it's a little bit different when it's relationship-wise. Like, how do you hold yourself accountable to not let somebody take advantage of you or walk all over you or steal your time? And in that aspect, my best guidance is to really tap into the power of your own conviction and the power of your own voice. It's been my experience that most of the time we break those little promises with ourselves is simply because it's a lack of exercising our right to speak up for whatever reason, for thinking that somebody will disagree or will be in trouble, or someone won't like what you have to say or how you're living. And those are all really valid. And for me, it just come back to what am I devoted to? And if it's not in service of my family, if it's not in service of my purpose, and somebody disagrees with it and or isn't okay with how we're navigating our life, that's 100% okay. We're all entitled to our own opinions and to how we see the world. And it's a call back to last week. I mean, Byron Katie's 3 businesses: your business, my business, and God's or the universe's business. And she says, just stay rooted in your business and serve from there, and everything else will start to find its way. But that's a big deal. You know, I chase validation. I want pads on the back. I want to be acknowledged. I think all humans want that. And when it crosses that line of, am I doing it for that, or am I doing it for what I'm devoted to and to the purpose it serves, then it gets a little, like, it just falls off track. So just keep in mind, what is it? And then the practical takeaways for this is, you know, I'm always with these journals. Over the next day, maybe right now, as soon as we finish in the next few minutes, right at the top of your page, what and who am I devoted to? And get really clear and begin to list it out. How do you feel about guilt for getting off track? Kel, it's so sweet to see you on here. Forgiveness. Just forgiveness. Guilt, looking backwards. A couple of weeks ago now, we went through a meditation on treating yourself as if you were a little 2-year-old in a diaper running around doing your best. Us, from our grown-up state, would see that little 2-year-old and they'd have chocolate all over their face, and maybe, you know, they went to the bathroom in their pants and they're like, oh, I made an accident. And from our wise self, we would say, oh no, sweetheart, you're just learning, it's okay. And you change the diaper and they get back on and you give them their pony and they're off and running. Toy pony. So Cal, it would be to place yourself in that very wise place whenever you make a decision, and to just look back and to acknowledge that you did your best, and or you made a mistake and you got off track, and it's okay. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Treat yourself as if you were a tiny little buddy. And that takes practice. It takes practice, especially, again, if I go back to that place where you're looking for validation, or you're really invested in something and you want it to work well and it just doesn't, and there's areas of opportunity, and like you can go down that spiral quickly. So it's pause and breathe and find forgiveness, find love, journal it out, look for the good, look for what worked well. And connect with me offline if you want to. We can go deeper into that. So I was talking about journaling. Who and what am I devoted to? What is my grand purpose? Get really clear on that. And then you take that devotion and or you're a disciple of, and look at your life. This is the second part of where you have these pain points, and begin to cultivate and create boundaries that will stop you from being outside of your service. Again, the example for me was just work-life balance. I needed to have some hard goes and stops on when I was working and when I was being a dad to move away from that guilt, and then to treat it all lightly. Same thing with the food. It's been interesting. Relationship with food has been really interesting during quarantine. Here, there's always snacks available. You know, there's been so many funny memes about eating the whole month's worth of snacks in like a day or something. And so being disciplined with what goes in my body and how I treat it, right? And if we go back a whole bunch of weeks, that's fundamental to all of this, fundamental to all emotional and mental health practices, is to take care of the vessel that we live in. If your body is operating at a high clip and your heart is strong and you're fueling it with good stuff, the outcome, the outpour is just going to be better. It's like putting jet fuel in your car versus sugar water. It's just not going to run as well, and it's going to sputter. And knowing so much about how food and your health level in your body affects the hormone levels in your body, like they just go hand in hand. So get really clear about what freedom looks like for you. And I'll do it in a couple of buckets: in your physical body, in your career, spiritual, family, and then start to create your daily disciplines. Make your boundaries. It's the floor as we press up in upward facing dog. Thank you, friends. Love you tons. Thanks for joining. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for sharing. You can catch me at Anthony Chavez Yoga on social, or email me at anthony.chavez@CorePowerYoga.com. Yeah, you got it, Martha. I teach tonight on CPY Live, so that's live.corepoweryoga.com. It's a C2 at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And then I teach Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time. So I'd love to see you. We can interact. And if not, I'll see you here next time. Or check my social for updates on where I'm teaching and what talks I'll be giving next week. Catherine, thank you. Love you. Love you all. Bye. Namaste.